Okay, in this video, in this part of the workshop, we're just going to do some preliminary setup. So pretty straightforward things. The very first thing we're going to do is you need to extract the save file that's in the description called JSON XML. I mentioned this in the first video, but this is the piece of code that is going to be doing our parsing of the JSON document. And we actually will be using this a lot. Now, I'd like to mention this is an open source package. It's really excellent. I use it with a lot of my clients right now, especially those that are actually building SDKs. It's really great at handling JSON and XML, not just JSON, but it does a lot of stuff. So I'm a big fan of JSON XML, and we just need to do a little bit of setup for it, and that's cool. So we're going to go ahead and create two source physical files. Of course, we're going to make one called qrpgle-ref, and we're going to put it in Punk API. I'm going to make the record length 112, and the member I'm going to give it is JSON XML. That'll be the very first member I give it. And then we're going to do the same, but for qrpgle source, and the very first member I'm going to give it is actually going to be called Punk API. That's the name of our SDK. So very simple. We've created two source physical files. They've both got members in. So if I do a work member at PDM, we first see the Punk API, and the type I'm going to give it is SQL-rpgle. And of course, I could have changed this in the IL editor, but while I'm here. And then we'll just go ahead and look at qrpgle-ref, and we'll change this to rpgle-h, because it is going to be our header file. It's just going to have our prototypes in it. Now, we don't have our prototypes yet. To get those, you need to get them from the repository. Hey guys, just cutting in here. What I actually told you to do in this video, which was to get the JSON XML source, is actually incorrect. You want the JSON parser source code here, and you'll actually see me in the video after this mention that I got the wrong one. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time that you need to get the JSON parser.rpgle and not JSON XML. Cool. Repository, there's a folder called headers, and inside of headers you're going to see JSON XML.rpgle. That's the one we need. That's got all the examples in. All the, sorry, not examples, all the headers that we need. So to get that, we're just going to grab, you can just press raw up here, and then we're going to need this in a second. So I'm going to head over to IL editor 2, and I want to make sure that the source files show up in the member browser. And to do that, I'm going to head over to settings, go to source file shortcuts, and I'm going to add two. First one is Punk API qrpgle-ref. The second is Punk API qrpgle source. Okay, I'm going to drag those to the top as well. Oh, the second one is going to be ref. I don't need to both be source. So we have our source and our ref. Oh, let's drag that there. Change that by accident. So I'm going to save and I'm going to refresh. So now I have them both here. I can open them, of course, and when they load, they will both say the respective members that they have in. Although for some reason this box is kind of slow right now, and that's okay. So there's Punk API SQL-rpgle, and then when the other one loads, we're going to have our JSON XML rpgle-h. Ow, I am going to have a bad leg. Anyway, not sure why this is happening right now. Close Steam, don't need that open. There we go. So we have our JSON XML rpgle-h. Let's go ahead and open that. So when it's open, you'll see when it's open. I'm not sure what the situation is. Anyway, so as you can see, this grey line on the right indicates the record length of the source. So we're going to copy this, and I'm going to paste it in, and I'm going to try and save it. And IL editor actually point out where the issues are. So, oh, it even took me there. That's nice. So we just have to make it shorter. And to do this, I'm just going to put the comments on the new line and just save it again. We don't need that. Okay, so that's everything, and now it's saving. So this red loading kind of indicator up here is the saving indicator. Now, I'm not sure why it's so slow right now, but there we go. So we have our JSON XML header. The last thing we need to do right now is make a binding directory. So we can just use create binding directory, F4. We're going to call it Punk API inside of the Punk API library. And then we're going to do work binding directory entry, prompt it. Oops. Prompt it, of course, Punk API, Punk API. And we're going to take option 1 to add. And we're going to add JSON XML, type serve pugum, library, Punk API, of course. But you could, of course, make it libel, or if you put it somewhere else, wherever you put it. Activation star emit. So now if we do a work obj, punc API / start all, we have our JSON XML, our 2 source files, and our binding directory. That's everything that we need for the setup of this video. In the next video, we're going to look at the API and determine what procedures we're going to need to create our SDK, and I'm looking forward to that. So I'll see you then. Thanks a lot.